you very much. Thank you. Calm down. Now on the show tonight, the tearaway from Liverpool who became a star. He is Ricky Tomlinson. Then the zany, talented Aussie who made a name on Not the 9 O'Clock News. In those days, she was Pamela Stephenson, actress and comedian. Now she's Dr. Pamela Connolly, psychologist and psychotherapist, and married to one of the funniest men on the planet. She's written a book about him. It proves he's much more than a funny man. He is both sage and philosopher. He once said, for instance, never trust a man who, when left alone in a room with a tea cosy, doesn't try it on. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Connolly, Pamela Stephenson.
Very thoughtful of you to wear a tie that matches my husband's beard.
It does too, isn't it? And also it begs the question, what's the most interesting wardrobe at home? You're Billy.
Well, I'm very boring these days. He's the peacock.
Oh, yes.
I mentioned, in fact, when I told the audience before you This is the place, of course, where you met, isn't it? 21 years ago.
It might be right in...
Is this the exact studio?
It might be this studio, because
Wow.
Not the 9 O'Clock News was done certainly from one of these studios.
Did you see us coming down the stairwell like Hansel and Gretel? We don't walk with that, no.
The last time we talked, in fact, you were a Pamela Stephenson, comedian and actress, and now you're a doctor.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I am.
Yeah, psychotherapist.
I went back to school and studied, got a PhD a few years ago.
Yes. He's a doctor too, of course, isn't he?
I'm not saying anything at this point.
Is this a matter of some sort of concern to you?
You should have been there.
What? Tell us what it was about.
When the letter came through the letter box. And I went in and I said, how would you feel if... should I accept this? They're going to make me a doctor in Glasgow. Bastard!
It was only 6 years, darling. Only
6 years work. They gave me one for bugger all. And the best thing was when I didn't get to make a speech, and I was really brassed off because I was determined to tell them it's the absolute truth that I've only been in Glasgow University twice in my life. And once was to see my daughter graduate, and the other time was to deliver coal.
You're a doctor of letters now.
I'm a doctor of letters. Oh. Most of them F's and B's.
Let's catch up with you, actually, since last you appeared on our screens, which was some time ago. 9 O'Clock News, and then you went to America, you did a Saturday night show there. You had a huge career, and then you gave it all up. Why?
Well, I sort of fell out of love with doing it, and...
You frightened of it, or...?
No, I was a little bit bored with it. Also, actually, I think that one comedian per family is quite enough.
It probably is, actually. Right.
And the children were getting older. It was getting more difficult to move around and do shows and so on. And actually, I was just ready for a change. I really wanted to change my career. I really wanted to go back and do some studying. I wasn't even sure, but I'd always been interested in psychology, so I chose to do that.
All right. And do you miss the performing?
Not even slightly.
Not the whiff of cordites? You don't miss any of that? You don't?
No. I did all the things I wanted to do. I mean, Not the 9 O'Clock News was wonderful, and Saturday Night Live was wonderful, and my own shows were wonderful. I was very happy doing them, but I was ready for a change.
It's strange to think back. It wasn't that long ago, of course, was it? But you were kind of that rarity, weren't you? You were a woman who was both sexy and funny. And I mean, those days, I mean, it was impossible to prove that you could be that, and you did it.
Well, thank you. It did seem like I was pioneering to a certain extent. Yeah. No more. There are plenty of beautiful women being comedians.
You certainly got this going. Let's be reminded of the moment when you two met, professionally speaking. We've got it here.
Great.
This is you imitating Janet Street Porter, interviewing the young up-and-coming Billy Connolly.
Tonight I'm talking to Billy Connolly, a well-known Scottish comedian. Billy, I understand that when you first came to England, people had a lot of trouble understanding your accent. Is that right?
Sorry?
And love at first sight, was it?
Oh, it was a terrible hangover as well, I remember.
The truth is, I didn't understand a word he said when I first met him. Not a word.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
You did. It was just when I was...
Every now and again. Every now and again.
When I get angry, you didn't understand it. When I get angry, you know, Scottish people get... Well, when Glaswegians get angry, it's a bit like dogs fighting. So, yeah, like that. She had trouble with that. But a lot of the time is, you know, you're just doing it for the effect. It saves you punching people. You know, I didn't want to punch her, don't get me wrong, but, you know, you just... And she had real trouble with my accent.
You still swear in your sleep, you know.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he?
It's terrifying.
Really?
You can tell he's swearing, but you can't quite make out the words. Like...
You should see me.
Punches.
You should see me. I've got Biggles. I go to bed like Biggles. I've got a breathing machine. You know, bandits at 4 o'clock. With the clothes coming. I've got this sleep apnea because I die in the middle of the night. You know. Pamela's halfway to the phone to get the police or something. Go and start again. So they give me this breathing, and it's brilliant. But it's weird. You can't have an affair.
No.
You can't say, so I come back to my place. You get the old head. What's here? Open the bum doors. We're in for a good night. Chalks away. Bandits at 4 o'clock.
Oh. But wasn't it one of the reasons why he dreams this? He has a recurring dream too. that when you found out about it, this interested you to the point that you actually did start thinking about, you know, writing a book about him.
Well, he told me about this dream as I was writing the book, actually.
Oh, right.
And it was quite a revelation. I thought it was an amazing dream. I mean, Billy doesn't want to hear. He thinks it's psychobabble, but. You know, Billy, because he was so abused as a child, he had this... I'm not going to finish this. He had this recurring dream that he was drowning, right?
Yes.
And that he would eventually discover that he could breathe underwater. And that's the reality of his childhood experience. He actually did sort of find a way to survive, even under terrible circumstances.
Yes.
So I thought it was an amazing dream. And I woke him up once when he was in the middle of that dream. He was cross with me because I'd woken him before he got to the bit where he could breathe underwater.
But what started you on the trail of this book? I mean, there was a moment in time when Billy told you about the abuse he had from his father, wasn't it? And is that when it started?
I began to think, well, nobody really does understand just how amazing Billy's survival has been, just how he's moved from this terrible place in childhood through to doing what he's done today. And he's really overcome an awful lot. And I think that it's very nice for people to know that and to really recognize that about him, including family members who'd never known.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that must have been the worst part to face up to, wasn't it? The family, well, some of the family didn't know that this abuse had been taking part. I mean, it wasn't just sexual abuse, it was physical abuse as well.
Yeah.
And it was not just your father, it was an auntie as well, and it happened at school as well. I mean, in fact, everybody seemed to want to beat you up when you were a kid. I mean, it
was very bad luck, you know. No, there was a lot of bad luck involved. I got the nightmare school teacher all the time.
Yes.
You know, I just bundled from one nightmare to another until you think maybe that's the way it is, you know.
Yes.
You get beat and
You chose to go out on stage, and your act's based on telling about your childhood. And
I've told them my whole life. Everything.
Except?
Pamela doesn't know the half of it. There's new stuff about her in the new show.
I have my spies.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I was just saying about when you went on stage and your act was very much telling people about yourself.
Yeah.
And you talked about this childhood, which all right, was poor, but it was funny. I mean,
it was great.
But it can't have been great. I mean,
no, there was misery involved, but you can leave the house. You're not stuck there for your whole life. I had great pals, and we dived around doing great boy things and stuff. And another thing is I refused to do my homework for many years, and I kept promising I would do it. And I got beaten every day, and I grew to really like it, you know. you know, there was a real high noon situation every morning with the teacher and me. And you go, ksh, okay, fine, wait, sit down again. And it's like, and you know, when the worst thing that can happen to you in a tough situation like Glasgow or Liverpool or those towns, for me, the worst situation was a good punch in the nose, and you realise it isn't all that sore. It isn't all that painful, you know. You go, oh, that'll do. So you want to fight all the time. It's not that bad. And what you see, she looks at me like a psychotherapist every time.
I just think it's so terrible.
See, my wife can ask you a question without saying a damn word.
It's true.
It's like there's a silence happens. You know, there's a silence you can hear. You can feel it next to you. The silence, and you end up going, what? It's the weirdest thing.
But I mean, that I can see the point you're making about that kind of physical abuse. But what about the other kind of abuse that you suffered?
The sexual abuse?
From your father. I mean, that must have been a terrible thing to have dealt with and to have understood as a child. You were 10 years old when it happened to you.
Aye.
You kept it secret all your life until
Yes.
you told Pamela.
Aye.
Well, first of all, tell us how you told Pamela. What
It was the day of my father's death.
And?
He was about to die, and he
He
was,
was
in hospital,
about to
sitting in the
die.
car.
And we went downstairs for a minute, and I said, look, I don't know what to do, because I'd never confronted him, and I felt very, very guilty. It wasn't until I read later that no one or very, very few of the victims of this, although I don't see myself as a victim, but the very few people confront the person who did it. You know, your dad, you're desperate for him to love you, and you try your whole life to do things that he would like, you know. Like if you know he loves football and you try and you're not good, you want to be a cyclist, you know. But he calls cycling a Jessie sport, you know, and you run like a girl, you run like a big lassie, and so I better try it. I'll be a mountaineer, I'll do something and you do your whole life to try and impress him, and it never really comes. Because as you get older, his attitude towards you gets stranger and stranger. He expects you to confront him, and you're not going to do it. And this weird thing, the silence develops between you, which is very odd, the great unsaid. And then it goes from there to the guy giving you moral lectures about how to behave and blah, blah, blah. And you're letting his side down. And
But
you
what
say,
you
wait a
ever-
minute, is it?
Well, yeah, precisely. You turn out, well, you should bloody well talk.
No, that's what you think you would do. But what happens is you're young and it gets kind of confusing, and you think, did it happen? Am I inventing the whole thing? And then later it comes back, of course it was real, of course it was stupid. You know, and you remember, the bit I always remember was the relief when we went on holiday, because we were in different rooms then. You know.
Yes, and you're freed from
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And I was dying to tell people, and actually I was dying to try and make fun of it and all that, because I made fun of the violence and stuff. And so I was trying to find a way of making fun of that, and I broached it a couple of times. I threw out a couple of little feelers.
Yes, I know.
But there's no colder subject on earth. No. You know.
It's interesting the way you edited your life, wasn't it, on stage in a
Yes.
sense? Because I mean, one of your funniest routines was going on holiday and wearing those.
Oh, the big woolly swimming trunks. Oh my God.
No.
It's good. The swimming trunks that get jealous of the seaweed. Have you ever had that? You know, where the wool gets heavy and the whole thing starts to do. Oh God. This huge. And a white belt.
That's right.
And a pocket with a button on it. What were you supposed to carry in that pocket?
I mean, and you know, it's made you live in Australia now. You see these guys strutting up and down the beach, macho guys, but they've not swum in the North. They've not done it.
They've never swum in the North
By
Sea.
God.
They've never made that noise as the wave hits your testicle.
That's right, it was here.
Oh yeah, God, I remember that so well. So very well. So very well.
We took our teenage daughters to see Billy for the first time a couple of months ago.
Oh yes, they came to Dublin.
At the end of it, Amy, our 15-year-old, said, she sounds like a valley girl. She says, Mom, I can't believe I'm related to him.
I said to Scarlett, did you enjoy it? And she said, oh, it was awesome. And I said, what did you enjoy best? She said, the woman with the weather chimes pierced in her vagina. I was talking about people who pierce all these bits of the body, and I said this woman in California with wind chimes hanging out their knickers. And that was her favourite bit. Aye.
But of course, you've had your nipples pierced, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't have any more. I took them out in Mrs. Brown, you know. But when you get your nipples pierced, if you're one of the boys, if you're a real nipple piercing guy, not one of them silly one-ring people, you get a thicker one every year and through the hole. Ah, shut up. Is that the attitude that made this country great? Is that the attitude they had when they nipped off to do the ground nut scheme? And grinding your nuts is worse than piercing your nipples. So,
Pierce next.
Yeah, well, this is it.
I don't want to pierce anything. I fancied the willy, though. I thought, oh, let's... But you know what put me off?
What?
The guy holding my willy to do it. I'm losing the plot.
I mean, got all this off your chest, and Pamela written about it, and it's a very moving and extraordinary story. It really is. It's funny too. I mean, because you can't help being funny.
But do you know something, Mike? I don't want to appear poor. The guy who came from a poor place and is famous and successful, and do you know that thing, that American sort of dream thing? Because when you live in a slum, it doesn't seem like a slum. It's a nice place to be.
Yes.
You know, the people are very, very, they're delightful.
Yes.
No, you don't get any, everybody says they never broke into the houses. Nobody had bugger all. There was nothing to steal. What are you going to steal? Clothes pegs or something? The wireless, you know. So the place is okay. And when these things are happening to you, you're not sure if they aren't happening to everybody else as well. So you take it on board. And when they keep telling you you're stupid, you think, well, I must be stupid. And it kind of saves you.
Yes.
You know, you don't say, well, maybe there's something wrong with my brain, because nobody's going to help you with it. You know, so, because you're working class, you're not going to get whipped along to have your brain looked at or whatever. So you just accept, and in accepting it, there's a great jolliness. And I managed to pass my 11 plus and go to the school with a blazer and all, you know. And I was all proud of it. And then it happened again, away down the Swanee. But there's again, I thought, I want to work in the shipyards anyway. I don't want your crap Latin. So off I went to be a welder. And that was great. Nobody asked very much of me there. So it's not like being a loser all your life. No. I would hate people to think that I was...
Survivor, precisely. And you see, what's interesting in Pamela says in the book, she uses 3 words. So she looks at you and she thinks, she feels envy, which is interesting, admiration and incredulity. And I think that anybody who reads the book would feel exactly the same. I mean, it's an extraordinary story. And she also makes the point, too, that really basically your psychotherapy has been going out on stage and talking to us, and that's what you did.
Yeah.
Plus having people like you, by the way, who showed Billy incredible friendship. Now, you're laughing at it, but it was incredibly important.
And rock and roll, when I had rock and roll friends, you know, when Mick Jagger was my friend, and Paul McCartney, people went, well, you know, I must be semi-okay. You know.
The other thing, too, that...
Keith Richard knows me.
You know, in the book, it's very sad, this, and the sad thing in the book is that you want to be on Eric Clapton's fridge.
Because Bobby Ball was on it. I was consumed with envy. I went to Eric's house for a party, and I saw a photograph of Bobby Ball. Oh, well, it was Cannon and Ball, but it was from Bobby, maybe the both, but I read Bobby's one. Yeah, Eric, tra-la-la, how's the... Bobby, I went, how does he know Eric Clapton? So, and then there was another one from Bob Marley, and it said, I shot the sheriff, right? And all that, and I thought, God, I wish that would be, imagine being on his fridge door. You know, I mean, I love Eric Clapton, you know. And I love lots and lots of people. You know, I love Earl Scruggs, the banjo player. And most of the people I love are dead. It's not a weird sexual thing.
Thank you.
No! You're my lovely, lovely.
Talking about death too, there's again, it's the interesting part of the book where you talk about that one time you actually thought you might actually emulate Salvador Dali, who wanted to actually eat his lover, or she should eat him, whoever died the first. And you and Pamela were going to eat each other, whoever died the first.
I still intend to do it.
You do that?
Yeah. But I was telling her the other day, just a wee bit. I don't want to eat her whole body. I think it would be nice to eat a bit of your if your wife died first, to eat a bit of her, it would see her off, you know. You know the way the movie that followed Silence of the Lambs, when they're eating brains and they just like pick a bit of it and eat it. Well, I thought, oh, that'll do. Just fry a wee slice. You know what I mean?
Which bit, darling?
I've got my bit picked out.
You've also got the tombstone sorted out, haven't you?
Yeah.
Go on, tell us.
I want, Pamela has promised to do it. I want the tombstone to read, Jesus Christ is at the time already.
The other one.
I've got another one. If you, I want to get the sound system fitted next to my tombstone, behind the flowers and all, and it can be set off by you standing on the grass, because the other idea is to have wee tiny letters on the stone, so as they have to go up to look, and that'll set the thing off, and you'll read, "You're standing on my balls," and then it'll go, "Bug it off! Are you?"
I mean, is he like this at home?
No, no.
Does he rant?
I rant all the time.
Do you rant, yeah.
Oh, I love a good rant. Osama bin Laden and Osama bin Liner, I call him. I go for it. You must see those. Somebody says you're not allowed to tell jokes about the war. Dear God, there's no better. Can you? I was on tour and the Americans are dropping bombs and food. I mean, what's wrong with this picture? Can you imagine being an Afghani who got killed by a big box of food? And the next step is obviously edible bombs. You know, you'll just drop a big giant licorice allsort. Can't they see?
I mean, it's been interesting reading the book because I've sort of followed your career over a part of the time that certainly the time that Pamela's been with you. I suppose that we should all thank you actually for the main thing that you did, and that's that you got him off the booze and the drugs too. I mean, you in many ways saved his life.
I don't really think you can save somebody's life. I think they have to be ready for that to happen. I think they have to decide to do that themselves.
But you promoted the idea.
I definitely promoted the idea. I definitely said, there's no chance for us unless that stops, because I'm not going to deal with it.
I remember asking you. I asked you a couple of times. Do you think I drink too much?
I'd be the wrong person to ask, Billy, no, James.
You said, get them in. You're a tight-fisted Scottish person.
Yes, I didn't know you asked the question when it was your round. I noticed that. But you see, I was suppose in many ways that's typical of your friends at that time, because we saw Pamela as being the woman who was kind of taking you away from us in a sense. Because there's nothing closer, is there, than a male drinking school.
Yes, there's nothing better.
Nothing better. It's good fun. There isn't. It's good fun. I mean, we enjoyed each other's company. And then this person came in and he started changing. We all thought, what's she done to him? You know.
Yeah.
And you will be aware of that, of course. Yeah.
Well, very, very understandable that one should be concerned about it or even suspicious.
That's right. Yeah. But it was a good thing that you did.
I think
for
so.
Sure.
Oh, it was, aye. Because you get to a point where you think you might die and you start looking forward to it, you know? It's kind of like showbiz.
Yes.
You think, God, this will get me, and you think, well, I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to be one of the dead ones. And you think, yeah, that's okay. I'll settle for that.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It seems quite okay.
And mythology that grows up around drunks who will fall off the perch.
It doesn't seem all that bad.
And finally, I mean, having written the book yourself, or you've said that you I think you admire him more, don't you? Having gone through that voyage with him. And
it was an extraordinary process writing it, and
I'm sure.
It was cathartic for both of us, and I found it very painful, and I think Billy did too, you know, just seeing it laid out like that. And when someone very close to you has gone through that and you're really forced to take a look at the details of that, it's painful stuff. I mean, it was, and you know, Billy's always going to make light of it, and he's always going to show what a survivor he is. But it was bad, and he did survive it brilliantly, and he was able to take care of his massive talent. That's one of the most important aspects of this. But it was hard, and it was hard talking to members of the family about it. But it was very healing because the family was very split. A lot of people didn't know.
See, my brother Michael, I feel most sorry for. And I still didn't tell him. I couldn't tell him. I was sitting on the couch with him, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get it out. I had to leave his house, and Pam told him. I don't know why, because I'm usually much braver than that, but I just couldn't get the words out.
Billy gave me permission to tell him.
And Michael was much closer to my father than I was,
Yes,
you know. He
shock
lived there
for
for years after me, you know.
And very nice to hear Michael and others say to Billy, that must have been so awful for you.
Yeah.
That must have been dreadful.
Because I thought they would take it extremely badly.
Yes.
I thought maybe I was lying, or maybe I was looking for publicity. But I don't look for publicity. I don't need publicity anyway. I don't look for it, and I don't believe in people who do.
But do you feel different now that it's out in the open, now that you've...
Yes, I do. I feel great. I went to a shrink in Los Angeles at Pamela's behest. I didn't believe in them. Because after my father's death, I was kind of troubled by it, you know, that I'd never done anything about it. And he treated me, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely stunning. And so I was kind of over it. But now that it's all out, it's great, because I've got no one to hide from at all.
The trouble is that in families where there's been abuse, all these secrets are held in.
Yes.
And the secrets propagate the
Yes.
abuse.
Yes.
And imagine getting to adulthood and not knowing this very, very important thing about a major member of the family. And so the fact that the secrets were busted through the writing of the book, I think was a very positive thing. And people actually were able to talk to each other. And, you know, Florence, Billy's sister, was always his greatest guardian angel. And I think it's probably been a great relief to her to have it out and not have to hold the secret either.
I think so too.
Well, it's a remarkable read about an extraordinary story, and thank you both for talking about it. Pamela Stephenson, Billy Connolly.
Thank you.